Who? That wasn't me. All right, folks, here we go. Welcome to the October 11th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. City Council meeting. We do have a quorum, so I will call this meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? And the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, would you please read the rules to speak?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Sign-up and oath cards are available on the table in the chamber. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions and requests from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issue, and citizens will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items. Citizens wishing to speak on the consent agenda must submit a comment card identifying the items of interest. Speakers shall be given 3 minutes per item. However, citizens wishing to speak on more than 3 items shall be limited to speaking for a total of 10 minutes, regardless of the number of items identified. All sign-up cards and exhibits being submitted to the City Council shall be placed in the box on the table in the council chamber.
Thank you very much, City Clerk. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting on September 22nd, 2022?
So moved.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor, a second by Member Nelson. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Minutes pass. City Manager.
On to the special recognitions and presentations. Agenda item 5A, a Brevard County School Representative will present on the Brevard County School Board proposed budget and millage, and no actions required on council's behalf.
Thank you. Come on up, young people.
Young people.
You never get in trouble when you say young people.
Good
How you guys
evening,
doing? Good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Russ Barone with the School District, out of the Communications Department, and I'm joined by Jane Klein, who oversees elementary education and is a North Brevard legend. Has lived here for more than 30 years and raised her family here. So one of the things that if you drive around, you can kind of know it's election season if you see the signs along the sides of the road. And there's one item that is on the ballot in November. Obviously, the mail-in ballots are already out, that we're, as a district, are trying to educate the community about. We don't advocate for this, but we educate the community about why our school board put this measure on the ballot. And it is a $1 million request for an increase to support compensation for our employees and to also accelerate technology development and also offer more programs for our students. So I wanted to kind of run that through real quickly and show you kind of what we're talking about. One of the things that makes BPS one of the best school districts in the state are our people. We have the third most experienced staff, and a lot of that staff is dedicated day in, day out. We have over 4,000 teachers. We have the reigning Teacher of the Year from Jackson Middle School, Alex Wicker. She's a star, right?
She is a star.
The reigning Principal of the Year is Blair Underwood from Coquina.
Blair Lovelace.
Blair Lovelace from Coquina Elementary. And she just recently won. So there are 2 examples of how North Brevard is leading when it comes to education. But we're not just teachers and principals. We have cafeteria workers. They serve over thousands and thousands of meals every year. We have bus drivers who drive 6 million miles on Brevard County roads, getting students to and from school throughout the school year. Our custodial staff, our specialists, our social workers. So these are the people that really touch our kids and make sure that they kind of advance and go through and have a chance to have a better life. So one of the things that's happened over the course of the last 3 years, Governor DeSantis wanted to raise the starting salary for teachers. Over the last 3 years, he's done that working with the state lawmakers, and we are abundantly happy about that and very thankful. Right now, for us in Brevard, our starting teacher salary is $48,725 for this school year, and it's been going up for the last couple of years, and that was needed. But what has not happened is the people who are not new, who have 5, 10 years, they have not seen new money from the state, and it's not in our budget. Additionally, as you guys are all aware, voters in 2020 approved an amendment to raise minimum wage hourly salary to $15 an hour. And as a district, we put that into effect in October 1. And then retroed it back to July 1st, our start of our fiscal year. Again, we need to figure out how to properly compensate somebody who is a head custodian, maybe a supervisor, making just a little bit more than what the new hire is making. That compression is our big challenge. This is how the money would be allocated over the next 4 years if voters approve the referendum question. 80% would be for compensation for all employee groups, except for the school board, the superintendent, and our legal counsel. They would not partake in this. And the compensation would be tiered so that the most experienced employees would see the greatest gain for the next 4 years. 16% would be given to student programs, career and technical education. Titusville has programs at Astronaut with the welding. We have advanced automotive. We have healthcare. We have 911 services up here. And so those would be expanded and supported using this money. And then the last part of it, the 4%, would be used for technology to help with the advancement of our classroom of the future.
Example would be Southlake.
Correct. Southlake, if you've ever been there, they have the classrooms of the future. We have a handful of schools that we have been able to fund, and those are in practice, and they're wonderful learning environments. We have 85 schools. And so this is part of our plan, but if this millage is supported, this would accelerate that for our youngest students. The cost, we always want to know about what is the investment that a homeowner would be making. The median taxable value in Brevard County of a home, a single family home, is $153,000. Again, this is the assessed taxable value. This is not what you would get if you put your house on the market for sale. It's a lower number. So that comes out to $153 a year. That would be taxed, and that's 42 cents a day that a median homeowner would pay to fund this. And if you look real quickly, and this is a lot of numbers, these are the historical millage rates across the county. And you can see since 2012, they've been going down. The state kind of put in barriers so that as home property values increased, there could be some sort of mitigation of what the homeowner would actually pay. And so as you see that going down, even if this is approved, we would still be in around the 2015, 2016 area when it comes to the millage rate for a homeowner. Our neighboring counties are doing it, and this is also a reason why we are sometimes losing teachers to our south, Indian River County, and to our west, Orange County. Have had millages for quite a few years. There are other counties that are also doing that as well. So when you look at the competitive balance of trying to hire, retain teachers, staff, we are, literally our neighbors are taking some of our best and brightest. And this is a quick look at what the ballot language says. I won't bore you by reading it, but this is what is on the ballot. If you've seen it in your sample ballot or you have it at your house. The last part there, Independent Citizens Oversight Committee, they would be created to look after and make sure that the school district does what we say we will do. We have one of these for our current sales surtax. They meet quarterly, and they review what we spend and how we spend it. This would be a separate committee that would be created by community members. They would report to our school board. They would not report to BPS to make sure that the funds are distributed appropriately. And I think that's it. See how fast we are?
Yeah, very good.
Any questions for Jane or myself?
Just a couple things. I'm a guy who was at Titusville High School 35 years. I'm still coaching, and so it's my 42nd year working with the district. And certainly I am one to lean to support the education system and certainly Brevard Public Schools. I think that if you, as you're doing, if you inform the public, and as it's written on the ballot, what you need, how much you need, what you need it for, and then you have a group, a committee, is that the right word?
Correct, yeah. Oversight
A
committee.
guidance committee or whatever it may be, that makes sure you're spending the money where you say you're going to spend it. I think that it's a solid factor, and I can say this here, it's not a city thing. I definitely would be in support of such a thing. I can tell you that having been in education 35 years, I actually just now came from speaking at Titusville High School, the naming of the Coach Dixon Doghouse. And it was really great to see all the old timers there. And everybody who was there that we talked about was saying how much more difficult it is to be in education now, how we don't think we could be in there anymore. It's very difficult for teachers to be in education. It's a new world out there, and I'm not in there now like I was, but it sounds like things changed a little bit after the pandemic, and it's just a much more difficult situation. So when it starts off, can you put the writing, how that comes across on the ballot?
I don't have control.
Maybe
There you go. Oops,
ballot language.
went blank.
All right, we're going well. See, we need more money. No. All right, there it is.
There it is.
It starts for increasing teacher and staff pay, funding technical training for students and other similar purposes. I think that we're losing teachers. It's not just in this county. It's in the entire state. It's in the entire country. There's a severe teacher shortage, and I will say that I feel like our state and our governor has gone out of the way to show that teachers are important. And I can tell you that I was one of those guys that as a teacher, my parents and everybody always appreciated me. And Teacher Appreciation Week was the greatest week of the year. But outside of that, I still got to feed the family. So with that said, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I appreciate you all bringing this forward for sure. Their old saying is, if you think education is expensive, you try ignorance. And the challenge that we have today is technology is moving pretty fast, for sure. And it costs a lot of money. And from day one, when I stepped foot in Florida, I always heard about how expensive everything is. And of course, the old adage that I've done mine for my kids, you all need to do it for the others. And you can't do it like that. This is an investment in our future. And I've always said that we really need to make sure we're educating our kids, because we like to get our Social Security at a certain age. I just got my red, white, and blue card. You know what that is? Medicare. So I'm pretty excited
Did you
about
get that today? I got mine today. That's crazy. You say that. I got mine today.
So, the challenge that we all have is that we do have teachers, or we have people who are going into education and they experience their first year, and kids aren't what they were in the old days for sure. And because of that, we find a lot of people moving on. They don't stay around. Money is, in my opinion, never, ever the final answer, but it certainly helps when you're in front of a classroom and there's a lot of disruption going on. So I'm 100% behind this for sure. The only question I had, though, was when you showed the numbers, I think it was like $6 or $8 million. Is that a yearly, or is that the total amount? Because this is only good for 4 years.
Yes, thank you for asking. It'd be for 4 years, and the revenue would be estimated for the first year at about $54 million total. By state law, charter schools receive a portion of that. I think it's like 7 or 9%. And then after that, it would go to the district. So roughly, $54 million for the first year, and then we expect it to go up a little bit each year.
Okay, you just did the right thing by saying charter schools will get some of this for sure. So have a charter school.
I happen to know, yeah.
I appreciate you all coming for sure, and I'm hoping this thing will pass, because there's a lot of things that don't pass certain times of year, and of course we have a lot of challenges that's going on, and we're going to be talking about a
fire truck that's $1.8 million. You know, things are expensive and they're escalating more and more as we sit around here. So we've got to make sure that we can maintain the best of the best teachers. This is the Space Coast. This is where engineers and doctors and all the higher professions are. And so we got to maintain that for sure. So I wish you all luck. And thanks for coming.
Member Stokel.
Yep, thank you. Great presentation. My questions have to do more with the process because the way you guys do things is different than we do it. And so I'm trying to learn and understand. I didn't know you had to go to the ballot to raise your millage rate. We don't have to do that. So my question is, so this is good for 4 years. What happens after 4 years at that point? If you are already used to that increase in the one millage rate, and now what happens?
No, we've obviously had to think about that. No, the way the salary structure would be, they call it a supplement, and so it would be good for Florida retirement system, but it would actually be separated out from the rest of a salary for employee X, so that if it's taken away, their salary technically doesn't change, but that money goes away. So there's no budget financial cliff for the district. But yes, that would be a change for our employees if in 4 years it reverts back.
So after 4 years, if you guys don't want it to revert back, does it have to go back on the ballot again? Okay. And then my other question in regards to the millage rate. So we actually lowered our millage rate, but we still, because of the home values, saw an increase in our budget. Does that happen for you guys as well? So even with what's happened because of the home values increasing, did you guys see an increase in your overall budget this year?
There's two parts to that.
Okay.
One, the millage rate is lowered to keep the money that the funds we receive consistent.
Okay.
And so it doesn't go up like that. But the other part of it is we did receive more money from the state in this budget year, quite a bit, like nearly $50 million more. But it came with categoricals. So the state told us this is how you're going to spend it, which is, hey man, we're taking the money and a lot of it's going to the new teacher salary. It's going to retirement. It's going towards mental health programs. And so when we take all of that, and spend it the way the state wants us to, and really the way it's needed as well, we have $4.5 million in money that we can use for ourselves to do what we want. And that equals, with our staff, a 1% raise. That would be good for 1 year. And so we don't think that that's sufficient for a staff.
Okay, that's good. And I think
so that's
an
kind of how
important
that can be
piece
explained. Yep.
to note, because people are going to say, well, did you get an increase or you just got this money from the state? But knowing that, yes, that's great, but we still are short in these areas that we just don't have the funds for, is an important factor. So great, thanks. Just a side note, I do have my degree in elementary ed, and I sub every now and then, and it is kudos to the teachers is all I have to say.
We have a teacher opening for you right down there. We can get you.
I know.
In.
I can put you in at Coquina
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I have subbed
Principal of the year.
Different ballgame.
there. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. With that, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
I want Ms. Klein to maybe just talk a little bit about South Lake expansion. It's not
Perfect.
tied to the budget, but South Lake is getting a little bit bigger.
Yes, we have a wait list every year for South Lake, and it is our choice school in North Brevard. As you remember, when it was closed and then we reopened it as a choice school.
Right.
So we're adding an 8 classroom addition. Groundbreaking is right around the corner. And so we will add 8 classrooms, which will end up giving us another K through 6 class. So that, and then at Mims Elementary, if you haven't seen it, the new cafetorium is being built. And that will also be, it's designed for hurricane, for a shelter, because that is one area that we try to always open as a shelter. And so those 2 things are coming to North Brevard.
Very good. Very good. Nice to hear those things. Okay, well, thank you guys very, very much, and I certainly support your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. City Manager.
On to agenda item 6A, which is the Titusville Housing Authority semi-annual report. It's included in your agenda packet, no actions required.
Thank you very much. That moves us to petitions and requests from the public. And Stan's moving around. You normally wait till last, Stan.
You gotta have a handout.
Oh, he's serious,
Handout
huh?
that you didn't get,
You don't.
Mayor Diesel, because you weren't here for the,
I didn't get a monkey. Do I get a monkey? He's got his monkeys. I guarantee it.
No, we got it.
I didn't get one. All right, let's get going. Start that clock.
Go. I've got 3 minutes, and in this 3 minutes, I'm going to talk about what the city is doing, some things the city is doing wrong. Is that a surprise?
No,
No.
no.
No, it's not a surprise. And I'm hopeful, and I know that some people are here about some, I'm going to say some similar complaints from a mobile home park here. And I'm encouraging them to stick around for another 5 minutes after this agenda item, because I'm going to bring some items up in the next agenda item that will shock you. So what has happened is that I've given this red handout out. And this red handout talks about some things that the city of Titusville is doing. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what you're doing. It's illegal, and you shouldn't be doing it. It's a repeat of what you've done in the past. And that is what? In other words, the city of Titusville has sewage spills that are not reported. Sewage spills are not reported. In other words, Hurricane Ion is this poster is a poster of what happened in 2020 and 2021. The city of Titusville made a false claim that that the sewage spill into the river stopped in December 19th, 2020. Well, this is even dated December the 20th, and at that time we had photos taken of like a river of sewage going into the river. It's long after December the 19th. And the city spoke about it in the January meeting of the sewage going after December the 19th, going to the river, and yet the city of Titusville signed a consent order that, as Mr. Larice here has crookedly done, in other words, it's dishonest. It's dishonest. It's disgusting. In other words, it claims we had millions of gallons of sewage. So the city of Titusville is doing it again after Hurricane Ion. This talks about thousands of gallons of sewage that's not reported. Not reported. Although I report to the city, I report to FDEP, I report to Florida Today. Guess what? You guys are working together. All three of these people that are working, in other words, FDEP, the city of Titusville, and Florida Today are all dishonestly, falsely reporting what happened. I don't think y'all heard me. I said the city of Titusville, the Florida Today, and FDEP is not reporting the truth. They're deliberately denying what happened. I don't think y'all heard me. It's horrible dishonesty. Now, not only that, is the dishonesty is that what happened is that you've got a sewage sprayed into the children and so forth like that. It continued again, but it stopped after I put this notice on the door. I'm not sure who stopped it, but it stopped. And so the thing is, you're intending to do it.
Time's up. Thank you.
Continuing.
Thank you.
Okay, I asked for another
Appreciate
minute.
it. I see none.
I don't think so.
City manager, can you or somebody over there tell me, was there any unreported sewage spill during Ian?
No, sir.
There was no sewage spill during Ian.
No, we had the lift station on South.
Right. Thank you for
Yes, sir.
that. But everything has been reported correctly.
Yes, sir.
Was the here I'm talking now. Was the sewage spill, and we all know we had that difficult situation and a wonderful effort by our city. Was the sewage spill in December of 2020, correct? The one at Sandpoint. So the point I'm making is that was reported correctly, and when it was shut down, we shut it down.
Yes, sir.
All right, just wanted to clarify that with staff. Anybody else on petitions and requests?
That sewage spill is still visible.
So, okay.
Still visible right now, even though we denied it.
Anybody else on petitions and requests? It feels like there's got a group back here waiting to talk to me. No worries, and that happens, and this seems to be where you probably need to come up.
Howdy. My name is Mike Ganaway. Thanks for allowing me here tonight. It's been quite the journey to get here.
And what's your address?
I live at Whispering Pines Trailer Park. Here in
Okay,
Titusville.
perfect.
All righty. 3 minutes. Oh boy, here we go. So last October, we started our first winter at our dream retirement. Within the first month and a half of living at Whispering Pines, we lost water. When asking at the office about it, we were told the city had a water main break. After waiting a few hours, I called the city to check on the progress of the leak. Their response was, "What leak?" It was soon after that we found out that the poorly maintained lift station had broken after the backup pump had already burned out. The practice up until that point was run it till it breaks, then replace it. No maintenance program, nothing. Maintenance could not be found. When they were located, the sewage had already inundated the property of the unpaid tenant who has for 13 years been the alarm monitor. We also discovered at that time that when the park shuts the water off, the city must be notified so that they can monitor the water quality for boil notices, etc. This was not done. A very dangerous way to operate. This year, on September 1st, we arrived to angry neighbors and at this point 5 separate sinkholes around the crumbling sewer system. 2 of them repaired with a hydraulic patch with which both failed within 3 days of being fixed. I talked to the guys down in the hole, as I used to be one of them. They told me they've been patching this for 5 years, telling management it's shot and needs to be replaced. I witnessed arm-size holes in all the sewer junctions. The groundwater here is about 7 feet. You dig down 7 feet and the water runs right on through. Every time you flush it right into the groundwater, which drains into the Indian River and underneath everybody at the park. The water drainage is unmaintained and retains pools of water and sewage for days after an event. The recent walkthrough by the State Health Department revealed to us that we need to wear shoes to avoid walking through sewage at our homes and in our yards. Some of the lines are plugged and will not drain. The maintenance department has blamed it on trains and loud rocket launches. They have even covered the holes with tarps, not realizing the erosion is from below. I've tried to contact the company that owns us for 6 months. No response. The last but certainly not the least is the electricity. The majority of the electrical junction boxes and meters are deteriorated, tipped over and rusting away, especially in the areas where the water does not drain. The city has in the past locked out systems that were dangerous but not fixed by maintenance, even after a notice to do so. We have not had a front office for a week because the power is out. No one knows why. It's a little square building. I do, and it's not a fuse.
Hold on. I'd like to give him another minute.
I got 2 sentences.
Well, okay, well, let's extend it for a minute. And then there, thank you.
All right, so this is but one piece of the puzzle we'd like to share with you tonight. Thank you. And please follow us on Facebook at Concerned Citizens of Whispering Pines for videos and other information. Thank you.
All right, without the red version, which was very good, tell me in your own words, what's the problem?
Okay,
Well, I couldn't tell exactly who we're upset with, who's not doing their job, I got to get some clarity.
sure. Well, so the crumbling, the sewer, the way it works in our park is the sewers come from PVC pipes from the units that surround the main hub, which is the shaft of the sewer manhole cover that you see in the street that goes down the L-hook ends there, which goes down to the far end of the park to the low point to the lift station, and the lift station puts it all into your guys' sewer. Up until the water incident, when the electricity went out, we didn't even have power to the lift station. It just backed up. Oh, I'm sorry. And so having just come across this and realizing what's going on, I got down in there. I've seen the water runs right under, the groundwater here is very shallow. It runs right underneath the park. So when you flush the toilet, it goes right into the groundwater underneath the park, and then when it rains like it does, it all comes and bubbles up to the surface. Now, the way it works in reverse here is we get an awful lot of rain, so when you flood the ground, it inundates the lift station down at the end that can't keep up with what's already going on. The main problem, guys, ladies and gentlemen, is that the system is completely shot and full of holes, and as much as when we ask for help, it's almost as if it's us against them, that we're complaining about.
Who are we asking for help from?
Front office. The front office who works for Parakeet Industries, who we were just purchased by, which is a place on the East Coast. There's another gentleman here that's going to give a lot more information about that. I'm just here to cover what I've witnessed for the infrastructure problems with the electricity, the drainage, and the raw sewage spillage.
Okay, so the problem is with your management.
This is a private
Yeah,
utility.
that's what I was getting at, and I was going to get him to see that way. And that's why I was really trying to get some clarity on who your problem was with, who's got the issue, and what's the name of this new management or owner or whatever?
Parakeet Industries.
Parakeet? Parakeet. Okay,
Parakeet Communities.
okay, and so they've just bought it?
Yep.
Has it? May. Okay, what I'm going to say from here, and I certainly want to hear the next guy with more information, and we will certainly communicate or assist where we can. We try to do that. But it sounds like it's a private owner, which is not a city possession. And that's why I was really trying to get clarity early. What's the issue? Am I going to lean over here and say, what are we doing or whatever? But it sounds like you've got a private company that you guys aren't satisfied with, to say the least.
Well, actually, it's the health is the biggest problem. We have a raw sewage problem, and we can't get it fixed, and we cannot find interest. So we're here tonight hoping maybe somebody will have interest in our cause and help us, because if the management just says, sorry, you're just not happy here, you can move out, what recourse do we have? Because we're living in sewage. I can't even go splash it in the rain down here at my retirement place because I'm warned it's sewage that I'm walking through.
Okay, with that, let me get to whoever your next person was
Sure,
going to
thank
speak.
you.
I'd like to hear that side of things. Is there some sounding, because again, I'm still not quite sure, it sounds like it's not a city issue. But is there, hold up one second, is there some issues that the city can evaluate and say this is not acceptable like we do?
Well, standing sewage would be Department of Health or DEP, one of those two. We could certainly, if asked, see if code enforcement would look at.
That would be the word I was looking for. Can code enforcement at least go look? And that seems to be our closest relation at this point, and say code enforcement says this isn't acceptable, you got to fix it, and that'd be the best we can do that I can hear.
Yes, and we'd have to have a citizen to make a claim.
Okay, and I think
We
we
just
have
can't-
several. Okay, name and number, name and address.
My name is Greg Hollinger. About 13 years ago, I moved from Wendover Farms, and I live in the city, and I live in Whispering Pines. Whispering Pines, I'm going to take a little more than 3 minutes, but you really need to hear this about this company that moved in. This is very nefarious, what's going on. This is very nefarious. You track this company, and what you're going to find is this company is a front company for Madison Realty out of New York City that was fined $1 million up there for doing the exact same thing they're doing to us, all these people. And there's people over here in another trailer park they own up to, I think, 47 of them. They are buying Florida. They are coming in here. They have a 20% stake recently bought by the Facebook people, the Zuckerbergs, all the wealthy billionaires. They're moving into the trailer parks. If you don't believe me, we've got the paperwork. This is an easy thing to look at. This is very big. They are moving into trailer parks and they are harassing people. You've got people here that just got out of the hospital with disability. We have lost 7 people since they came in 120 days ago. The fire department's been over there. We've got a lot of elderly people, and they didn't kill them, but I'll tell you something. They're killing them just by the stress they're under. These people are I was going to move, but I said, I'm not going to move. I've lived in Titusville 43 years. I've raised 5 children, have 7 grandchildren. Some of my family has businesses here. We're not moving. These people are so nefarious that what they're doing all over the state of Florida now is they're not putting any money whatsoever into the systems. The systems are totally broken down. They're not going to put money into it. FPL has come out and locked out people's electricity, saying this is dangerous. Vivian, where are you? She got a letter from FPL, took it to the new owners. They said, oh, we'll fix it. A month later, they never fixed it. FPL came out, locked her out. She was 3 days without electricity and air conditioning in 95-degree weather. This man over here, he can tell you, he went without air conditioning. These people are disabled. That's what this company does. And the city is saying, oh, we can't do nothing about it. If our attorney could get with the state's attorney, by the way, we've got paperwork going to the state's attorney's office. Our state legislator, Mr. Wright, is involved, and his liaison has sent paperwork all over the state of Florida. The governor's office hopefully will respond to this. This is extremely bad stuff. Billionaires are taking over areas in our state, and I'm talking about hundreds of trailer parks in low-income areas of apartments. They're taking them over, and they're forcing people out. I don't know what's coming. 2 million immigrants, a place to put them? I have no idea, but what I'm saying is this. This goes a lot deeper than Parakeet. Parakeet is a front company. If you look into it, you'll find they have no building. They're a company that owns 47 trailer parks. They have no building.
All right, here,
Try
come
to
back
get
to
in
me now.
contact.
Come back to me. Here we go.
A P.O. box they've got.
You talked about, we go to the city, they can't do anything. Well, that's because we can't do anything. But what we can do, and I think I kind of went that angle, is through somebody over here. Like I said, I don't think that's going to be hard work to find somebody to initiate, and help me out here, I don't want to get this wrong, to initiate a complaint, concern through the city, code enforcement, and that would be our first step to getting involved, because I'll be honest with you, this is the first I've heard of this. I've not heard a word about this.
Oh, it goes deeper,
And,
sir. You don't have
Where
time.
is this park exactly?
It's on 50. It was family-owned for 50 years.
50, where on what part of Highway 50?
Right near the railroad tracks on 50, right down.
Okay, I
where,
go by it.
Mr. Robinson
I go by
used
it
to-
every day. I live down in Imperial Estates,
Okay,
across from River Lanes there.
right.
So I'll
We're
go
right
by it
near
on the way
close
home.
to, right there close.
So that's always been a very nice, quiet area.
Always, we had peace.
Been there
Now
forever.
it is hell.
I don't know exactly, but I was a kid, moved here in 1965, and I don't remember, it's always
Well,
been
when
there.
you tell an 85-year-old lady that she's got to remove her rocking chair and put it inside because she can't rock on her porch, I think that's right.
I totally agree with that. I mean, that's clear. But and it sounds like you've got a whole trail there of issues.
We
But
do,
what I'm
and we-
saying, what the city can do would be to follow up on specific complaints and then go in and see if we have some code enforcement that says, you can't do this, you can't do that, you got to fix this. That's when we can get involved. But we can't go to a private sector. It's not a city thing. And if it was, it'd make it a lot easier. But we're going to have to go that angle. And that, I don't want that to come across as, well, gosh, they don't care. We do care. I mean, like I said, I'm going to drive by there on the way home today.
We know you care.
Does it look
That's why
different?
we're here. We're
Does
not
it-
here to rant at you.
Does it look different than normal? I mean,
Does it, folks? In 120 days, it has deteriorated.
all right, I don't know what time we'll get out here. If it's too dark, I might not see it very
I've got
well,
a few
but-
pictures if you want to look.
No, I'll be good because I'm going to go by there. I promise.
We've
you.
got trailers that have beams under them, holding them up to keep.
Yeah, that's very disappointing to hear for somebody who's been here with, like most of you, through the space program in 1965, and that was a really nice place to go. It's always been so nice. I like passing it every day. So with that said, I'm going to, and is there a specific office they should call to get that started?
Just code enforcement.
Somebody, be a leader, maybe you. Maybe get a couple names and get code enforcement perhaps to come out, show them some of the things, then they can kind of document what it is we can enforce. Because we can't go in there and start, fighting with the owners and all that stuff. So, all right.
Hey, Dan.
Sorry.
Can I
Yes.
interrupt
Let
for
him
2
get him back up
seconds?
there. All right, come back up here. I got a question for you. Member Nelson.
Well, this isn't a question, but
Okay.
this is a comment, and it's actually from Mr. Broom.
Okay,
What
you
about
go ahead and sit
the
down.
Attorney
Thank you.
General's Office Consumer Affairs? Would that be
Potentially, I'm not
appropriate?
sure of all the issues, but I believe he stated that they had contacted the state attorney's office.
But this would be the Attorney General.
Could be, right, depending on the issues, yes, that could be it.
I think there's definitely,
They could get certainly some
Some
private
state
advice
level.
from an attorney to assist
Okay.
them.
I think at our level, we do what we can do with code enforcement. And obviously, if it's code enforcement, we can deal with the owner and go from there. From there, I think that you guys have the right thought, and you certainly have the right fire to go to the state level. This is probably way in the wrong lane, but it would have anything to do with better business. I mean, if they're a business owner, could it be a better business report too? Okay, well, that's another thing. All right, well, what we can do, and that's all we can do, is code enforcement, which could start some bells and whistles for the rest of the state. So with that, I don't see any reason for us to continue on. I think we know where we're at. We need to get a group or 2 or 3 to work with our code enforcement, and they'll get out there quickly, and I'm going to get by there, if not today, if it's too dark. Can you see anything at dark? No. All right, then I'll be by tomorrow morning. If I see some of you guys, I'll stop. Come to the front. Petitions, requests, come to the front. Or you can come as a team.
Yeah. Moral
All
support.
right, name and address.
My name is Donna Lessard. I live in Whispering Pines community.
Okay.
I,
Here, let's just go two at a time right now. Go ahead.
she wants pictures.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want you to see my house.
Okay. Well, I will come by.
That's why he wanted to show them to you.
Okay.
You're not gonna be able to see it. You're gonna have to come in.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I thank you already for what's taking place going forward. I thank you so much. But I was wondering too if the city could help us maybe in the area of aging, council on aging, or is there a liaison person that some of our people could talk to?
Council on Aging.
Or somebody that is in elder affairs that could help the confusion that's going on within our community.
Probably
right
something
now.
at Harry T. Moore. And while we're doing that, can you bring the pictures up and give them to the clerk for me so she can pass them to me?
We do have a council on aging.
And just for a quick, brief summary of how this has impacted me, I bought my home in Whispering Pines a year ago, knowing it would be my last big purchase. I am disabled. I planned my budget to include 5 to 6 years of lot rent increases. At the time, they were $10 to $15 per month each year. I thought I'd have 5 to 6 years of security and peace, which, not coincidentally, matched my prognosis. With one lot fee increase of $120 a month, which is what we're told we have to pay starting next month, the new owners have outpriced me well over my 5-year plan. I am now in panic mode. And I'm not alone. We are 100% a retirement community. It's not a mix, it's not a percentage. We are all retired. Whether we are on Social Security or pensions, we are all on a fixed income. The income levels might be, higher and lower, but it's a fixed income that we budgeted for. The security and peace that we worked so hard for has just literally been ripped out from under. And then to find all these things going on with the safety of our water, possibly the sewage all around us, and we don't know the impact long-term of these things. Where will we land when all is done? I work very closely with the homeless here in Titusville through the Titusville Civic Center. We have a Thursday night dinner free to anybody, and I'd hate to think that we're going to join our already overgrown homeless population. And I'm blessed to have these wonderful neighbors. I'm blessed to have the city to live in, but I really think that they are truly targeting our most vulnerable people. And yes, I do consider myself one of those vulnerable people. But I just wanted to give a little bit of.
And with that, I feel like you guys have set the stage and set the tone and given a visual. The pictures show a lot. I totally understand. No, I can't say that. It's easy to say understand when you haven't been there, but I will say that it's clear, I think, that the council and staff can see the issue. But we got to be careful, and I'm certainly not trivializing, but I want to make it as kind of like I've got a defective item from Lowe's and I'm going to Home Depot to replace it.
Right.
That doesn't mean we don't care. That means that we can't go in there and just say, you guys need to do this, this, and this. But code enforcement can go in there and say, well, this is not acceptable. Almost like, there may be something to be said for a little health department too.
We did.
And so whatever step you can take, and the higher you go, I like that I heard some things with the state attorney's office. But at this point, I can only commit to what we can commit to. You guys get with our code enforcement, somebody will be out there. And I can also promise for myself, I'll be out there tomorrow at some point. Yep, go ahead.
We do pay city water and city sewer. Whether they're private or not, they're charging.
Well, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with us going, I hope you like it, but at the same time, if somebody else owns the building, I can't, well, sounds like you got somebody else who's come in and he gave some pretty nefarious, that's a long word, nefarious explanations for that group. So So with that, that's your step. And if you, and beyond us, I hope you'll do more. And I really want to hear this. And like I said, I wouldn't be going by there if I really didn't care, because I think there's some advantage being taken. And I want to be careful what I say about that, but I'll just say things don't look right.
Thank you.
All right,
very
thank you,
much.
guys.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Yes, come on up. Yep, absolutely.
How you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Don't mind the way I'm dressed, sorry about that. My name is Reverend Dino Bonaventura. I live at, I always say,
You live over there, that's good.
no, I don't. I live at Trade Winds Mobile Home Park, used to be next door to Bob Kay's.
Okay.
Okay, excuse the expression, they came in, they raped the place. They literally cut down 90% of the trees, left tree branches hanging in the wires, and said it's not our problem. They, one woman lived there, her husband built her a little trough for the koi fish that they used to raise. Then he built a little sitting area so they could watch it and everything else like that. 2 weeks later, he passed away. 2 weeks later, they moved in and said, gotta go, can't have it. They walked around saying all this stuff has to go. The only thing that they have done for the park, literally, has been they fixed a set of stairs. I used to be a manager there, and the old owner wouldn't let me do it because of an individual. They fixed a set of stairs. They painted the front sidewalk that looks worse now than it did before. And somebody else, they put in a big white plastic fence around a mound of dirt because the other manager made a, what do you call it, drain field about yay far off the ground for the RVs, and guess what, it's supposed to move uphill. But they put a fence around it so nobody sees it. And that's the only three things they've done to the park, plus they raised everybody's rent. It's gonna come through in January. If you do not have all your rent, your rent and your water is added together. They don't do them separate. So with that, I was a penny short on mine, they wouldn't let me pay it. And you have to do it certain ways. You can't have bank transactions or anything like that. I have to go to Walmart, pay an extra $4 to get a receipt because they do not give out receipts. If you call them, you're only allowed to call between 8:30 and 5, Monday through Friday. If you call their office, leave a message. They don't say Parakeet Communities. They don't say nothing. It's just leave a message. I personally feel that with all the big developments going up around where I live, and with the little elementary school there, I personally feel they want our land. Well, they want us out so they can put houses there. And I have told them that to their face, and they just smiled. And I asked them, I said, what you guys are doing, is that legal? They said, yes. I said, so you have no problem doing this to people? And they said, no, because it's legal. Personally, I asked them to say a prayer that that doesn't happen to their kids and their parents. And with that same breath, I said, I'm going to say a prayer to my God that it does.
Good for you.
And they don't care about people. It's all the bottom dollar.
And that's why you guys got to get to work. I appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Member Robinson, you had a light on.
I did. I guess some of the conditions of the homes or trailer homes. Have you contacted Fair Housing?
We have tried contacting some people, yes, but what a lot of people are afraid of is, oh, you were down there at the meeting? Guess what? You are now under our watch.
Right. But
That's, from what I understand, they had some people tried to buy, some people in this one community got together and said, hey, we want to buy the park away from you. And they said, oh, don't have enough money, but by the way, we're going to raise the rent and we're going to charge us all extra because they knew they had the money.
All right, well, that being said, I'll be walking around there tomorrow so they can come talk to me.
Ours is Trade Wind Hill. It's right across the street.
All right, we're good. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
All right. With that, I think that issue, there's really not much more we can do. So thank you. And like I said, if you see me driving around, I'll have my little mayor sticker on. All right, guys, thank you. We're going to wait just a second.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I'm sure I'll see some of you tomorrow. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm really curious now because I go by that every single day, and you can't tell from the road. So, I mean, absolutely. Thank you. I may see you tomorrow.
And I want to just say one thing if I can. You're seeing the future homeless problem we've got here in the city.
You're absolutely right.
These kind of companies are not vetted before they come into our state.
I agree.
You're seeing the future of the homeless. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I may see you tomorrow. We'll see. If you see me, you're welcome.
Thank you for letting us walk out in the middle of your meeting.
Well, it works better that way. All right, anybody else for petitions or requests? I see none.
On to consent agenda item, City Council. Are there any questions that you have of staff concerning the consent agenda items A through 8G?
Hold on one second. All right, anybody have anything? No, sir, I see none.
Council, do you want to pull any consent agenda items A through G? City Clerk, are there any cards for?
One individual for all items.
Okay, Mayor and Council, with your permission, I'd like to read the titles for the record.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Consent agenda item 8A, approve the purchase of a fire truck and associated tools and equipment. Consent agenda item 8B, approve the architectural styles and design guidelines negotiated proposal. Consent agenda item 8C, approve the award for the urban tree canopy assessment and report. Consent agenda item 8D, award the contract for replacement LED monument sign at the Titusville Fire Department. Consent agenda item 8E, approve the annual renewal memorandum of understanding for participation in the Finder Data Sharing Network, Florida Region 5. Consent agenda item 8F, approve the 2023 Medicare, medical, and pharmacy plan options for city retirees for January 1st, 2023 through 31 December 2023. And consent agenda item 8G, approve staffing for adequate fire and emergency response safer grant.
Okay. Council, any comment? I see none. Clerk?
Stan Johnston.
All right, let's go.
Ready? Okay, here we go. All right, my name is Stan Johnson. I'm a registered engineer. I used to work for the city, used to work for the county, and I'm here to complain. I'm here to criticize. I'm here to tell you the truth. You don't want to hear it. I know you don't.
Hold on, time out. Stop. And you can complain and criticize, and that's kind of what we get. But just do it on the A, the B, the C, and go right down the list and complain and criticize. We'll be happy campers.
Thank you.
Thanks,
That's a good
let's go.
idea.
Start
Thank
the
you,
clock.
Dan. Okay, well, I'm going to criticize carrying over because the city of Titusville, I've written to you a letter about the dishonesty and the violation of laws and negligence and so forth. I wrote up recently, I sent you an email about that, which I'm not going into that much about this. However, and let me begin with 8A.
A, fire truck.
Ready?
Yep.
8A has to do with almost $2 million.
$2 million.
And 8G has to do with the emergency response and so forth, which may be even more than $2 million because we're talking about human lives. And the other one's talking about human lives too, safety. I mean, our budget is what, over 50% safety and so forth like that?
Correct.
And then what happens here is what you just saw recently is I'm talking especially about our city manager. I'm talking about our city manager and our fire department especially. I mean, just what you just heard just a few minutes ago is the city manager just denied a sewage spill in which the evidence is still there. And I sent him and Sean Stauffer telephone calls, emails, and so forth about the sewage spill, which he said, no report at all, nothing, no more. And I watched and photoed. I've seen thousands of gallons of sewage going into our streets.
Real quick, what don't you like about the fire truck?
Well, Well, I'm talking about the money. In other words, what this is being managed by, this money is being managed by our city manager and our Mr. Stoles, which I just sent an email about the problems. I've sent about how many problems did I send about? I think it's 24 items.
For the fire department?
Yes, 24 items. Mr. Stoles just received this email about 24 items and a complaint to a city manager and our Department of, and Joe DeNiro, Human Resources. I just sent it, which I also followed up today with another call to the fire department. Yesterday, I called the fire department also. They don't respond. It's closed doors. It's slammed shut because they don't have to talk because, for example, when I go to Human Resources and complain, it's all erased because of the crookedness of our city manager. In other words, I have serious complaints, and they're just eliminated because the city manager says, well, could have listened to it. Just right now, for example, he slams the door on me shut right now. He's not going to listen to anything about what I'm saying right now. It's horrible. It's disgusting. It's disgusting what I just shared with you about what we're doing. So in other words, let me go through what the city fire department is doing right now, the 24 items, which is, there's a lot more list than 24. But on 24 items is that I'm mentioning violations of laws by the fire department and our city manager, negligence, nonsense, open and notorious dishonesty. By city manager and our fire department, Mr. Hostoles. Right here he is. By the way, I've called the fire department many times about I would like to talk to Mr. Stoles to have a meeting with him. Nothing happens. I met with Mr. Stoles, first time only met him, never met with him. I met him at a doorway entering City Hall. He said, oh, just call up and make a meeting. Never happened. That's months ago. He doesn't have to respond to the city because he's responsible to our crooked city manager, who just erases things. You have all kinds of false reports coming from the city because they're city manager. So here's what's going on is we have a project here and that the fire department claimed that these properties, they have they're landlocked with no legal access. I'm a surveyor. I say they do have legal access. I used to own the property. I say they do have legal access. We're talking about SNJ Oaks, the property that Mr. Robinson have asked to visit many times, and asked Mr. Diesel. This same property, Mockingbird Lane. It's two-way. It's been two-way for how many years? I used to own the property. I didn't complain about it because I knew they have prescriptive rights, at least prescriptive rights. The fact is they claim, but anyhow, they're not, the fire department is making all kinds of claims. They haven't talked to the people. And it's illegal what they're violating laws. They're violating the prescriptive rights. That's number one. Number two is and I mentioned that, is the failure no, I didn't mention it. Failure to continue two-way traffic. It's been two-way traffic for almost the whole 300-foot stretch of property. And we got 4 properties on the south that access this Mockingbird Lane. And there's one in the end, and there's one in the south. That makes 6 properties. And so what they did, our fire department, what did they approve? You won't believe what they approved. They approved relocating this to the south. Unbelievable. Listen to this. You won't believe it. And they made it, in July of last year, they approved it to be 8 feet wide. 8 feet wide. And guess what? It's coming from a 20-foot wide concrete apron. But they chose to say, well, we're going to make that 20-foot apron, we're only going to give it 8 feet, make it 1 lane. 8 feet in a 10-foot access easement. Can you believe that? That's what the fire department approved. And that's what but P&Z approved it, and so did council. Your sketch plat. I can't believe they did that. There's nowhere it doesn't meet any kind of code in the city of Titusville. Doesn't meet any kind of code. So they first of all began with 8 foot wide, and then they changed to 12 foot wide. So what do you have now approved? What we have now approved. You won't believe this.
listen carefully. They have a 12-foot wide driveway that is to be located within a 10-foot easement. No, you didn't hear what I said. They have a 12-foot wide driveway to be located within a 10-foot easement. I don't think you heard what I said. I don't think anybody heard. I said they have a 12-foot wide driveway to be on the preliminary plat. It's going to be in a 10-foot easement. And then what happened? The city approved it. Fire department says it's not our fault. I mentioned it to Mr. What's his name? Mr. Anderson. I don't think you heard what I said. A 12-foot wide driveway within a 10-foot access easement. And guess what that access easement does? Who is it dedicated to? Nobody knows. Is there any dedication on the plat? No. How many people access that? How many people have been talked to? It makes no sense at all. I want you to understand, I've been a surveyor since 1980. I've been a registered professional engineer since 76. Before that time, I was working for L.A. Melvin Associates starting in 71, doing this kind of stuff. Are you going to listen to me? No, you're not going to listen to me. I don't know who you're listening to, but you're costing right now, the city of Titusville, I'm including our city manager and Mr. Hostolius in the fire department, they're costing tens of thousands of dollars of damages right now. And it continues today because of their foolishness and stupidity. And excuse me, if I'm saying Mr. Larice is stupid, let me apologize. Let me apologize for that. No, he's super stupid. Super stupid. Super duper stupid is Mr. Larice for doing what he's doing. And right now is the city of Titusville has a survey. Listen to this. They have a survey that disagrees with this survey. The width of the right-of-way is shown as 53 feet. I sold the city of Titusville 20 feet of right-of-way. I sold the city of Titusville 20 feet to make it a 50-foot right-of-way. And it's 50 feet, yet the plat shows 53 feet. Survey by the city of Titusville shows 50 feet. Survey by the city of Titusville shows the angle is off by at least a half a degree. Does that make a difference? A half a degree? What it is, for example, if you go 100 feet, you're off about right or left by a foot. And our fire department and our planning department, they went ahead and approved it. Even though the city of Titusville has a survey that says it's completely wrong. I want you to understand nothing fits. I can't even draw the survey from the information they have. I cannot even stake it out. I cannot stake it out as a surveyor. So you need to correct it. Straighten up and do it right. Yeah.
Speaking of doing it right.
Yes, sir.
We had 7 consent agenda items. How many did you talk about? You signed up for all of them.
I talked about 2. I ran out of time. You can give me extra time. Please give me extra time.
Let me just say one last thing. If I said to you, you were super stupid, how would that go over?
Well, I would listen to you. I'd ask why? What are you super stupid about? Because I'm telling you what he's about.
I don't want you to look that way anymore. I'm just telling you. You talked about one consent agenda item, and you're calling people super stupid, and then you're accusing us of not listening.
I didn't call everybody super stupid.
Really? All right. With that, we're good. Thank you.
Okay. I can ask for more time so I can tell you about the other items.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir. Council, anything? Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve consent agenda items 8A through 8G.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor. Get my head back here. And a second from Member Nelson.
Yeah.
Roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson? Yes. Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes unanimously. City Manager.
On to item 9A, which is ordinance second reading, public hearings and related. This is ordinance number 37, 2022, adopting the 2022 CRA redevelopment plan amendment.
Ordinance number 37, 2022, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 76-1984 dated August 1st, 1984, which approved and adopted the Community Redevelopment Plan for the Community Redevelopment Agency created on October 12, 1982, by amending said previously adopted plan, amending ordinance 31-1996, ordinance 19-2004, ordinance 9-2012, ordinance 19-2014, and ordinance 20-2015 that updated the redevelopment plan, providing for resolution of any conflicts, providing for ratification of previous actions of the Community Redevelopment Agency and the City Council, adopting certain amendments thereto to the Community Redevelopment Plan, and providing for an effective date.
The local planning agency, the Planning and Zoning Commission, found the proposed redevelopment plan in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan at their 21 September 2022 meeting. The 2022 redevelopment plan was reviewed by the Community Redevelopment Agency tonight and was recommended for approval with the deletion of one word by City Council. The proposed 2022 CRA redevelopment plan amendment is comprised of the following chapters that are listed in your packet. Mr. Parrish is here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the 2022 CRA plan amendment adoption.
Council, any questions or comments? I see none. Cards?
Only one, Stan Johnston.
Only one thing you got to stay on top of here, Stan. 5 posters for one topic. Start the clock.
Stan Johnson.
I'm going to start.
And I'm opposed to this. I just talked to this young lady here and the other people. Mr. Diesel wasn't here about this particular item and listed as item 8A under CRA. And I oppose it strongly. I strongly oppose it strongly because it's a what? Just like Resilient Titusville, that Mr. Parrish and Eddie Galindo, what they do is they pick and choose what information they want to put in there. For example, in the Resilient Titusville report, same as in this report, is I gave Mr. Parrish and the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council all this information about resiliency and sustainability that the city did not have. And what did? They glossed it over. And they gave a false report that the city approved and gave to FDEP, and I reported to FDEP. The FDEP did the same as they do with sewage spills. They completely ignored them. So what you have here is a document, again. It ignores what? Information that I provided. You'll see that there's a photo of me in there making comments on those boards that were in the Welcome Center. My comments included the sewage spill that we had. Sewage spill in. We had the sewage spill spraying men, women, children, and so forth with sewage for 4 months. For 4 months, and of course, Jolynn Nelson, she left because I was going to mention that she said that we did it because FDEP said it's fine, but it's not fine. It's not fine. So in other words, that was specifically in there, given and to be reported in this document, and it's not. It's not. It's glossed over. What you do is you're making a false report because you pick and choose. You take out what you don't like. Same as this. Sewage spills. Sewage spills, I've given information to sewage spills, and what do you think they do? They don't talk about them. They did, what you did in the consent order of 21-0113, the city of Titusville gave a false report, and they had council approve it. That's because of the Mr. Super Stupid over here. He's foolish. He's lying. What we had is we have all kinds of photos and so forth of the sewage spill that continued after December the 19th. So what do? Now we're going to do a CRA document that's going to be false also. No, thank you. No, thank you. This is disgusting. It's disgusting what the city is doing. It's dishonest. It's unnecessarily dishonest. Just be truthful. Don't want to be. I'm just tired up with the lies. I'm fed up with what you guys are doing and fed up with our city manager. You need to straighten up and tell the truth. What we're doing is instead of talking the talk, you should walk the walk. You're not. You're not being honest. Same with report. Please deny the report. I'll ask for another minute.
I see none. Any of the cards? No, sir. Council. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve ordinance number 37-2022, adopting the 2022 CRA redevelopment plan amendment.
I have a motion.
You have a second.
And I
do have a concern.
I have a second with discussion.
You want to add your adjustment?
With the adjustment that we made on the CRA.
Yeah.
Please.
I don't know about that.
You verbalize.
The one word change.
We changed 3.1 to delete the second word,
Restore.
restore.
Yeah. See what you miss?
If specifically you remove the word restore from goal 3.1.
Thank you.
Right. That's my
That's-
motion. Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from Member Nelson, with the understanding of the change. All right, roll call vote.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes. 9A 37-2022 passes unanimously. City Manager.
Next two items will be quasi-judicial. City Attorney will read the quasi-judicial procedure.
During the public hearing portion of the meeting, anyone wishing to speak on a quasi-judicial item must first sign a public hearing agenda card and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on the table at the entrance to the chamber. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents you desire for the City Council to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the city clerk. City clerk, of all persons wishing to speak for the City Council, sign an oath card swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth. Staff and applicant have all witnesses that intend to speak signed an oath card swearing to tell the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
If there is anyone present who has not signed an oath card that wishes to speak on a quasi-judicial item, please submit a card at this time. City clerk, have all agenda items been properly advertised? In the event that a council member has received an ex parte communication, either verbal or written, outside of this hearing, the council member shall disclose the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom the communication took place and the subject of the communication, including all opinions or facts discussed. Any written communication must be disclosed and made a part of the record. Also, in the event that a member has conducted an investigation or site visit or received any expert opinions regarding the quasi-judicial item, said visit or opinions shall be disclosed. If written ex parte communications exist, we'll verify the applicant has received them and has had the opportunity to review and is ready to proceed.
Is this where council, anybody have any communication? I have had none. No. We have none, City Attorney.
I
Wait,
got, no.
take it
I got-
back. Member Stokel.
Sorry, I got an email today.
Now, this is for 9B.
Oh, we're not on, okay.
Correct.
I'm thinking of C's. sorry.
Yep. So I'll go ahead and, Mayor, with your permission, I'll go ahead and introduce the item now.
Yes, sir.
It's
Thank
the
you.
Quasi-judicial proceedings. At their October 2022 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval as presented 7-0. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a church in order to expand an existing church at 1010 Norwood Avenue. The church was approved with conditional use permit 7/1994 with conditions. The proposed CUP 6/2022 will allow the addition of a new building on the property. No new conditions in addition to those previously approved in CUP 7/1994 are proposed. Mr. Parrish and Eddie Galindo are here to answer any questions that you may have on this item.
All right. Council, anything? Eddie, anything? This could be quick. Applicant? Nothing? No, somebody come up and at least wave to us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Steve Monroe. I'm president of Monroe Engineering, and I'm the engineer of record for this project. The project is located at 1010 Norwood Avenue. The church is proposing about a little over 11,000 square foot, two-story building. The intent of this CUP is to bring property they acquired quite some time ago that wasn't included in the original CUP. So this application will now include that properties, and they'll be able to construct this new building, which a portion of this new building is on those lands. Basically, it's a corner piece that they had acquired, what have you. It's important to note that this is an accessory building. It's going to be used for classrooms, dining, and recreation, that sort of thing. We did attend P&Z last week, and they approved it without any further to do. But we did submit a site plan and a landscape plan, conceptual. I'd be happy to answer any questions that might be site plan related or any questions you might have.
Council have any questions? I see no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cards, please.
Jody Wells?
Good evening.
Hey, Jody, how are you?
Mr. Mayor, council, staff. I was just going to get up here and say thank you for considering and for the planning and zoning team doing such a great job of reviewing, giving us their time. But I did listen to and was reminded that you guys probably get a little bit more complaint than you do thank you this evening. And so I thought I might
When did you
take an
figure that
opportunity.
out? I'm just curious.
What's that? Yeah. I just thought I'd take a second to say thank you to the council, to the staff, not only on this project, but I've been here since '71. Of course, I was only one when I got here. But I've been here and I plan to stay here. And in my time as pastor at Path Apostolic Church since '07, we've had a number of opportunities to partner with the city, and we've found them to be good partners. And while the council may have changed some since an issue that we did deal with some derelict properties, I believe staff is exactly the same staff that worked with us. Derelict properties, prostitutes and drug dealers in them. We worked with Titusville City Police. We dealt with the city attorney and the city manager, and we found them to be great partners. They helped us remove those properties, allowed us to turn it to green space per the stipulations with the city. And what we didn't know for sure would happen was the derelict properties around them, their owners came in, brought all of those properties up to code now that the worst properties were removed, and now every one of them is fully occupied with renters, and it's a much better neighborhood because of it. I could go down the list, but I think one of the greatest thank yous is to let you guys go home for dinner tonight. So I won't keep you any further, but to say thank you, everybody, for your work to the city, and thanks for partnering with Path Apostolic Church.
And let me reply to that without, not necessarily relating to any decisions here, but I've been here a long time. It was at Titusville High School forever, and the partnerships that we had with you over and over and over again. You are one of those churches and one of those pastors. It's what can I do for you? And I appreciate the heck out of that. I just think that should be noted as you stand there. It's hard for me not to recall that. Thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, folks.
Mayor, staff would just like to reiterate that in the staff report, we reviewed the application with the code and the comprehensive plan and find it consistent with both.
Perfect. Thank you for that addition. Any other cards?
One more card, Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnston, 860 Poinsett Avenue. I've been to this church, so I'm not very often, but I've been to this church, a great church, and the pastor's done a wonderful job. And the church has been an incredible asset to our community. If you remember things like the Strawberry Festival, a number of events that very positive things that the Pentecostal church has brought to our community, good things. And Mr. Wells, he's got no connection with Clint Eastwood whatsoever. Isn't that right? No connection, Josie Wells. He does a fine job. And the church is doing it's a fantastic asset to our community because we have a problem, not just in our community, but nationwide. It just, we need more people who, walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time. And this is a good asset. And so I'm certainly approving any expansion that they have. And they do it. They've been doing a wonderful job. Things I've seen happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other cards? With that, applicant, you have an opportunity to speak again if you wish. If you're okay, thank you very much. Council?
Yeah, I want to put somebody on the spot. I happen to know the architect on this thing. Excellent architect for sure. He was the architect for my charter school, so I know this is going to be a great project
Awesome.
for sure.
Awesome.
So,
Good
well
reference.
done.
Good reference. Member Nelson,
I was going to make a motion,
feel free.
but I do have a question. Do we need to include in the motion that the conditions that were previously applied, I think they were in '07, continue?
That's how staff had recommended it, so you could say approve as recommended by staff.
Okay.
There we go.
So
Makes it easy.
we've moved to approve conditional use permit application number 6-2022 for the First Pentecostal Church of Titusville based on staff analysis, that it complies with the comp plan and code and with the conditions laid out by staff. Does that do it?
Sounds like good to me.
Okay.
I have a motion from Member Nelson. Second from Vice Mayor. Roll call vote.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you guys for all you do. Appreciate it. City Manager.
On to item 9C, which is conditional use permit application 2-2022 Independence Recycling. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request at their 6 April 2022 meeting and recommended approval 4-2 with additional conditions. The Titusville Environmental Commission considered this request at their 11 May 2022 meeting and recommended approval 6-1 with additional conditions. The applicant, Greg Morrow, on behalf of Independence Recycling of Florida, is requesting a conditional use permit to operate a concrete recycling facility at 84 Golden Knights Boulevard. The concrete recycling facility is a recycling and mulching composting facility use per section 28-217, which does require a CUP. The future land use designation on the property is industrial. The subject property is within the airport impact overlay area and is limited to a maximum building height of 50 feet. Staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit based on the staff analysis, information, and evidence presented in accordance with the city charter and the City of Titusville Code of Ordinances and Land Development Regulations, the adopted comprehensive plan, and the provisions in Chapter 63 and Chapter 66 of the Florida statutes. And staff is also recommending the following conditions that are in your packet, and they are quite extensive, so I'm not going to read them. If you have any questions about them, Mr. Parrish and Mr. Glendo are here to answer any concerns that you may have.
All right, this is where I normally go to council. Before I do that, I'm going to speak myself. I will say that I don't think that I personally have helped lead a more well thought out, maybe over thought out from this seat, I'm sure. But I can tell you that when the Environmental Committee approves it with conditions, Planning and Zoning approves it with conditions, from what I can gather and what we were discussing last time, batting about 1,000 in safety. And then did a little more looking around, and that is went to the site. Looks like the right site for me. And then this last week went to our own concrete crushing, not our own, the county's concrete crushing area, which was not nearly as menacing as I had thought it would be. And we even sought an expert, and again, not to have been crass perhaps, but I love experts, but let's face it, experts are sometimes going to lean towards the side that they're being brought by. So I didn't mind hearing something more, but the more research I did, the more I analyzed it for myself, and I feel like I would go ahead and, with myself, say that I am going to be in favor of this motion. I'm in favor of this tonight. I see it's just in the right place. It's at the right time. And the big concern I had, the attorney, you can probably recall, was that this is a big deal for something outside. It was kind of scary to me. It was scary to some other people who were here. More information and the more education you get, the better off you are understanding it. And we don't all sit up here every time and understand everything that comes before us. I understand it. I think it's a perfect place, and I think it's a perfect company with a perfect record. And as a matter of fact, Stan, you actually said something about go see one. And I did. And I feel really good about that. I am clear on where I'm at with this. Member Nelson.
I think I am too. I appreciate the supplemental report that really helped for me answering a lot of questions. So at this point, I feel pretty comfortable with it.
It was a scary word.
Yeah, it is.
Concrete smashing. And, then I got an aerial view of it. And then and I think for our citizens, and I said that, and I'll stand by that, for our citizens, I needed to make sure that it wasn't that scary thing that maybe I perceived, they perceived. I feel like I wrongly perceived. And I feel like it's a safe operation. Your record shows that you're a safe company. And again, the location is pretty way out there. And like I said, going and watching one, it wasn't the scary movie I thought it was going to be. So with that, like I said, I would, before we even get into whatever else we get into, I'm going to state clearly now.
Well, Mayor, I just want to let you know they do have some more testimony to give
I will.
before you
can't
make a
wait to hear
decision.
it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear it. But
And-
at the same time, let's face it, it's not our first testimony.
Right. I also
So-
wanted to, I believe there's some ex parte, that's the one.
That's okay. That's okay. I played my card already. Member Stokel.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure this was being in the appropriate time now to disclose any So I got one today. I think we all got it. I don't know if you guys opened it, because then you won't have to disclose it if you didn't see it. But it came through at 12:30 from Kim Limberbrick, but it's signed anonymous. But that was the email it came from. I just don't know if the applicant had a copy of it.
Well, if you've read it, you would need to disclose what's the nature of the communication.
No issue with the recycling of materials. I would recommend that they're dusty and noisy operations. However, no amount of dust control and noise abatement will stop 100%. I also think this type of operation may not be conducive with the Titusville Airport. And they had a concern with the amount that would be coming through this facility. And I think the city should stick with the original intent of the zoning around the airport and vote no.
Okay, did you?
I don't know if you.
Let's make sure.
Okay. Yes, so I figured you guys.
Also
could-
make sure the applicant heard that and is aware
Yeah.
of that, and that we provide a copy to the clerk. for
Now
the
that she mentions it, I should say I got that. I'm sure everybody get it.
The only thing I would ask is to ensure that, can you render an impartial decision based on the evidence presented, despite this?
Oh, yeah, that didn't.
I'll
And that,
be-
I will say that was the only, since I think our last meetings, like, I think that was the only additional one that I've seen throughout this whole time.
In my long time in education, I don't have a real, I don't take a whole lot of time with anonymous. And that's what we had. It was anonymous. So when you say who, I don't know who. So no, it didn't change any mind.
I do have one more question, just regarding the rules. For this, now since we tabled it and we're coming back, were citizens notified that it was going to be heard again tonight?
I defer to the clerk. This was advertised, but I'll let her.
Yes, notifications and a legal ad was
So
sent out.
mailers went out to the
Yes.
surrounding, okay, perfect, thank you.
I don't see any other comments from council. Applicant.
I typically have Tara Tedrow, 215 North Willa Drive, Orlando, Florida, here on behalf of the applicant. I typically have a lot of PowerPoint slides. I don't feel like I need to necessarily do that. There are 70 if you wanted to know, but I don't think I'm going to make you sit.
No.
I had an answer to every question, frankly, if that might have arisen tonight. So I think maybe what I'll do is if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. You know, I would incorporate the record we had from our 614 hearing to avoid 2 hours of additional testimony. We wanted to make sure we brought the whole team. If you did have questions from your own investigations that you did between then and now, you know, I think if there is any member of the public here on this item, what you had noted about our operations, we've never had a complaint filed with the state. We follow all of our permitting requirements. This facility will be able to be DEP certified as clean debris facility. And that's a very hard standard to get, and we have that at our facilities, and we will have that at this facility as well. So I think the risk factor that people are feeling might actually happen with what we have proposed, the conditions of approval. We have mitigated the opportunity for any of those risks to actually occur. And in our expert's opinion, which again, he's putting his expert testimony behind and kind of risking our operations on for
Right.
us to say, they could come shut us down if we can't comply. He has told us definitively, I see zero risk, in my professional opinion, of there being groundwater contamination from any of your operations, zero. So I think that's about the best assurance I could ever ask for. I don't know the last time I've ever told anybody there's a 0% or 100% of anything as a lawyer, so I'm glad to know that some experts are willing to give that type of testimony, but that is what we have relied on too in coming back before you, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that recommendation of approval consistent with your planning staff, your environmental commission, and in accordance with all of those proffered conditions of approval, and happy to discuss any of them.
And thank you. And city attorney, in terms of hearing all the evidence, let's make it on the record that this is not that we had a long hearing already. So, and if anybody has anything that they want to add on the other side, I'm still a juror that could hear both sides, and I think I've come across as somebody who's willing to listen to both sides and state it clearly. That being said, again, we had a long hearing, and we were just in recess, we should say.
Yes, sir. We agreed to reopen to provide the applicant an opportunity to answer some additional questions.
That's right, but that wasn't what you were concerned about. The concern was if we were getting out in front of ourselves. I think that if this was the first time we heard them, but we had a long trial till 10 o'clock, actually.
And I just want to confirm.
Okay, we're good. Thank you.
the applicant-
Vice Mayor Jordan.
He's good. Go ahead.
I'd like to confirm with the applicant, you've provided a supplemental report and also proffered some additional conditions.
Correct.
I want to make sure, does council have that? Do you want to go over that and make sure that that's something that?
Was that part of the review that you all had made and part of the decision on feeling comfortable tonight was what we had proffered in terms of that additional supplemental report and condition?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And again, some of the questions from the opposing side last time, I think if I was to say what I thought up here as jurors, I thought I saw a very open-minded, we weren't going to jump either way till we felt like we had all the evidence. And so I think that that's a hats off to where we came from on this. Although I can certainly see, perhaps you even saying, okay, enough, let's go. But we definitely wanted to, and I feel like we said this, we wanted to make sure that our citizens were heard and that we evaluated everything that was said to us. I feel that I have done that, and from what I can see here, so has our council, Member Robinson.
Yes, the attorney said what I was going to say. Then the summary and everything covers everything that the concessions and everything that has been done. Bravo Zulu, job well done to understand what we had put forth and our concerns. It's just well done.
Well done. And I was going to say,
I take no offense to that.
if you
by
want
the
to show
way.
70 slides, we'll make an appointment later. No. Okay, and stay tuned because you are the applicant. Any cards?
We have one that is not with the applicant, and that's Dan Johnston.
Stan Johnston, and there's times I've criticized the city. Yeah, I have. But I want to say this time is that the city did a good job on this. I want to thank the city because I believe you did the right thing when you tabled this item, because we had some people who were very upset about their health conditions, the possibility and so forth like that. So I'm saying to you that you did the right thing. I don't say that sometimes.
No, you don't say that very often.
And I want to remind you is that I have a little bit of experience with this because the city of Titusville, we had a concrete crushing machine in the city of Titusville that the city of Titusville used. We had it right over there on that hill where the women's club is, on Singleton.
No, I don't think I remember that.
We had it there. We used it there. In other words, we piled it about maybe 15 feet high with concrete, and we had residents all the way right close by in the area of critical concern. How about that? So I did recommend that anybody would go visit one of these facilities because, thank you, Dan, you did a good job.
To you.
This time you did a good job. This time. Okay. So I don't have any criticism or complaints about this. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, geez.
Well, I haven't seen that one before. Thank you, sir. Any other cards? I would say applicant, anything else you want to say?
Mayor, can I
Go
inquire
ahead.
the applicant for 1 second? There's a report in the agenda that had a condition. I just want to clarify, was that condition again modified in a subsequent email about, I want to make sure the last condition you proposed, I think it was the one that is being proposed today and will be
The
included.
one in the original report, the supplemental report, is the one we're proposing. I added clarifications in my email. So if there's something that needed to, in the clarification, get into it, I'll make sure it's in form and substance that matches and get that to you. But I would assume that that very long multi-paragraph condition,
That is in-
substantively has not changed.
Your letter of 9/27/2022?
Yeah, correct. Correct. But I think so long as the substance of that letter and the condition we gave is the same, then I can just triple check there was no clerical errors between the two in my clarification.
So I
But
ju-
that was the condition that we were proffering.
Okay, so for council, to clarify, that's an additional condition that wasn't included in the original proposed conditions recommended by staff. I know that you had recommendations from P and Z, TEC, and staff. So
I'm good.
I'd like Mr.
Was
Parrish to
staff-
clarify, I want to make sure which conditions you are including.
Member Nelson?
Well, and I've got a question because when I look at the conditions, the staff conditions, I like number 1, I like number 3 through 6, but P and Z sort of changed condition 2 with the setbacks, and I like theirs. So I would rather sort of substitute P and Z's condition for your number 2.
Yes.
I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it simple.
That's so good.
Hey,
No problem.
do you see where I'm looking at?
Are you looking at page 507, 508 of the packet? That's the agenda cover sheet, and we're looking at the conditions from between staff and P and Z?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that the P and Z condition number 2
Where it
should,
says the 50-foot tree preservation buffer along the front of
Correct.
Golden Knight Boulevard and a reduction on the north and west buffers to 25 feet. And my thought was, this is my thought, is, you know, you got a lot of people coming in and out of the airport, so it would be nice to have that buffer there.
so you're suggesting that the staff's proposed condition, which is a 50-foot buffer, should be placed there rather than the P and Z's reduced buffer. Is that correct?
The condition I'm reading is 25 feet on the north and west, 30 feet on the east, and 50 on the south.
Yeah, that doesn't
Okay,
have,
so, yeah, okay,
That's good.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's good.
I'll take that back.
That's slide number 74.
Yeah, really.
Which is not in your packet.
Do you guys want me to make a motion?
Go ahead, Vice Mayor. I called him, I think.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Based upon the evidence presented, I move to approve conditional use permit number 2-2022, finding that the request satisfied the approval criteria in section 34-76 of the Land Development Regulation with conditions submitted by staff and applicant.
Second.
I have the motion from
He's
Vice
about to
Mayor.
say- He's about to say something.
we just want to clarify. So your motion is to include staff's conditions
And,
and the applicant's
Additionals.
proposed condition tonight.
right.
What about the Planning and Zoning Commission's conditions and the TEC's conditions?
I was good
I
with
think we
yours.
got rid of those,
Yeah, we're doing yours.
and we're going for
Yours
yours.
So you're not accepting
Right.
their recommendation,
Yours.
Planning and Zoning Commission and TEC? Okay.
How does that go with the applicant? It looks okay to me. All right, I got a motion. I've got a second. Roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes, passes unanimously. Thank you for your patience. He said thank you, but his body language is, come on, man. Yeah, please, go ahead.
I know it's been a long road for all of us.
It's been a long road.
But I understand it completely, and no hard feelings. I mean, it cost me a few extra bucks, but it's, I'd rather, like I told,
We won.
I know, but like I told you in the beginning, like I said in the beginning, we don't like to go where we're not wanted. We
You're
want to be
wanted.
good neighbors, we want to be part of the community.
You were 501.
So we'll prove it to you.
You won.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. All right. City Manager.
On to item 12A, which is Resolution 21-2022, historic nomination number 1-2022, to nominate the Liberty House located at 4050 Coquina Avenue to the city's Register of Historic Places. The Historic Preservation Board reviewed this item on 6 September and recommended approval. And the city's preservation officer and preservation board recommended approval to the city council for the Liberty House. And I believe we have a presentation by our preservation officer.
Board. Yes, look forward to hearing it.
So Pat Tayeski with SME is our historic preservation officer for the city. Remember, we're a certified local government. So she's our expert on historic preservation. She's going to give a short presentation on this nomination to the local register.
Good evening. Again, my name is Pat Tayeski. I'm with SNME. It's a short presentation, and I'll try to go fast through it. So we're going to talk about general information about the property, the specific property features that we're trying to preserve, the significance, and then a recommendation. So the first thing we did was research ownership of the house. We went all the way back to when it was built and before, and didn't notice anybody of significance to the city, any famous persons live there. One thing that I do want to notice is that in 1970, the lot was split, and the back of the property, there was a building built there. So it's a little bit different from all the other lots in the neighborhood. In terms of when it was built and it was platted, it was in the city of Indian River City. It was not within the city of Titusville. But when we look at the history, the timeline of the city, we see that in the 1920s, when the housing boom happened, that's when the house was built, around 1925. But in the 60s, in 1963, that's when the city of Titusville expanded. Glendale was annexed, and then Whispering Hills, the golf course community, and Indian River City were consolidated into the city of Titusville. So that's how it came to be within the city. In terms of the property features, so we don't know exactly what the house looked like originally, but we have a Florida master site file. That's the form that gets completed when somebody surveys a historic property, and that gets filed with the state. So in that form, they described the house at the time. They talked about how it was bungalow style, it had a gable roof, exposed rafter ends, triangle brackets, dormers, so a bunch of characteristics that were very typical of that style. Now, when we look at the house today, we notice that a lot of those things were changed. So, like, for example, the exposed rafters are not exposed anymore, but we believe that they're still there somewhere. In terms of the columns in the front of the house, when it was surveyed, that was coquina. The coquina is no longer there. We don't believe it is under what we see today, the stucco, but that we know that it was coquina at one point. The chimney had to be taken down. They experienced a fire, and at that time, it seems like the fire started in the fireplace, and they had to remove the chimney. The original windows are no longer there either. So I'm going to go one by one, explain why we think that even though those items were changed, the house still preserves its significance. So in terms of the front porch, you can see the coquina in that picture from 1987. You can see in 2007, when the property appraiser took this picture, they still had those coquina stones on the outside. And you can see that the porch was enclosed with a screen enclosure. Today, it's no longer enclosed, which removing the screen is not a big deal for historic preservation. It's worse when you enclose a porch with permanent materials. And the coquina is no longer there, but the shape and form of the porch is still evident. In terms of the roof, so it's hard to see here, but when you see the picture in the report, you can see the rafter ends. You can see them a little bit better here because they're painted white. They put a fascia on top of those rafter ends. And when we do a designation report, it's not the time to say, okay, applicant, you need to remove that. But in the future, if they do any improvements to the property, it's a recommendation that the Historic Preservation Board would probably make. In terms of the dormer, so they have a dormer that faces the front of the house. If you can look at that picture, it had a center window with two smaller windows on the sides and a railing in front. When the property appraiser's picture was taken, it still preserved the three windows and the railing, but we don't know. Sometime between 2007 and the present, the railing was removed and the two smaller windows were taken out. The way we see this part is that not all bungalow houses have the three windows and the baluster. Sometimes you see houses that have just one window. it still has the dormer, it still has the idea of, having a window there. So we didn't feel like that change was that crucial for the designation. Now, the front window. So looking at the 1987 picture was really hard because the detail is not very visible, but we could see that there were some elements that have been removed. You can see that in 2007, the window, it's a Queen Anne window with the squares, the diamonds on the top. Those are gone. Now, the new picture window that they have, it's a little bit strange in the sense that it's not your typical window with frames. But again, it preserved the shape and size of the original. And hopefully in the future, someday, if they want to change the windows again, they would consider going back to something more similar to the original. Other changes that happened, I've mentioned the chimney was removed, the siding was replaced. It used to be clapboard. Now it is still wood today. The new siding is wood. The rear facade, they added an entrance because there is a living space on the second floor, and now the entrance is from the rear. But when we look at these designation reports, we focus mainly on what you see from the street. So we didn't think that that would be a detriment. So in terms of the significance and the recommendation, so typically we have to rely on the Secretary of Interior standards, and we look and see, okay, what do they recommend in terms of, the changes to the house, and, does it still preserve the integrity of design as the original house? So going one by one through the criteria, it didn't have any significant event or persons living in the house in the past. The architecture and the method of construction was something that we identified as something that would be applicable to this application. Potential to yield historical or prehistorical information, not necessarily, it's basically architecture. It is not in the National Register, and it's, the last one doesn't really apply to buildings. So basically, the designation is based on architecture and method of construction. And the Secretary of Interior talks about how you have to have integrity of location, design, association. And I mentioned before that even though there have been modifications, you can still see it's a craftsman bungalow. Nobody would deny that. And those houses have been disappearing. It's one of the few in the neighborhood that we would like to preserve. So the significance is when it was built and the architecture, the style. Integrity is what I mentioned, that things have changed, but not to the point where it wouldn't show that it is a craftsman bungalow. And the Historic Preservation Board and the Historic Preservation Officer, we recommend approving the designation. And they have proposed the name of Liberty House. That's what they want to know the building as. We don't have any other historic names for the house from the past. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to.
First of all, thank you for a great presentation. Secondly, what a beautiful house. Thirdly, I love that you guys do what you do because there is so much history here that could just simply go unnoticed. I have always lived, not always, but I now live and grew up in the Indian River City area. So to hear somebody say that, I'd like to get more into the history of what that was like in Indian River City. And then, of course, it became part of Titusville. Clearly, I'm all for it. The kind of effort you put into finding these and researching these. And when you can present that research and the way you presented it, I'm absolutely all for moving forward with that. Anybody else in council? And again, before it gets away, I do want to make sure you know that was just a really nice presentation. Member Nelson.
So I have to tell a story. So my family lived on Merritt Island, and the Cape moved in, and of course we got kicked out. And my dad bought what's now Casa Coquina, and this house is like 4 houses down. And I loved it. I loved it even better when it was Coquina. I hated to see that go, but it's just a beautiful house. So I would definitely support this.
You keep talking, we're going to put you on the historic register.
I could be.
Well, your family does go back into that day and it's always fascinated me when we first moved here in '65, some of the houses that were still left on the beach. And then they got moved.
Yeah.
I told you, I think before, I lived on Indian River Avenue for a while. The house next to me was one that came off the beach and it was put in sideways. I never understood why the front door was sideways, because that's the only way it would
that was-
fit. So there's some real significant history out there that you guys are all over, and I certainly appreciate it. And again, I simply would say that I'm looking forward to moving forward with this. Thank you very much. Are there any cards on this one?
Stan Johnston?
Thank you. Council, Vice Mayor?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I move that we approve Resolution Number 21, 2022, Historic Nomination HBB Number 1-2022 to nominate the Liberty House at 4050 Coquina Avenue to the city's Register of Historic Places.
I would definitely second that.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor, a definitely second from Member Nelson. Roll call vote.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Passes unanimously, and thank you so much. Thank you for your entire group out there. You do a lot for our city. Thank you. City Manager.
On to item 12B, which is advisability for site development permit and time extensions. At the City Council meeting on September 27th, 2022, Vice Mayor Jordan requested staff review the process for site development permits to determine if the time can be extended from 1 year to multiple years. Staff was requested to bring back additional information for discussion, including the current language of the code and staff's interpretations. So staff is here to recommend approval of advisability for staff to reassess the time extensions for site development permits and make recommendations to City Council.
Okay. Go ahead, staff.
Yeah.
Well, what we were really asked to do is to come back to with some information, some research, basically what the code says and how we apply it. And so what I've included in the packet are a couple of sections I believe are most relevant to what was being requested here, and this is primarily to site development permits. So it's that kind of permit where someone is trying to build a new development on the site. That can include a subdivision, that can include a commercial development. So they're trying to get the infrastructure there, the parking lots, the stormwater systems there, in order to allow for later on building permits for the vertical construction. So what I believe was asked was to provide permit expiration language related to site development permits, and that's what's included here. So what we have are two types. We have, for a site plan, there's a Class 2, and it's required for new development such as a commercial center or multifamily apartment complex, and with the creation of a new subdivision. And so we've included Section 34-2017 of the code, and that states that a site plan approval is valid for 12 months, during which time a building permit must be applied for and at which time the timeframes of the building permit shall govern. So you get your site development permit approved. You have 12 months to go forward and submit to us a building permit. And this is, for example, related to a commercial center or a multifamily development. It's not a subdivision yet. If you include a subdivision with that, you still have to get a site plan approved because you have a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in there. But a subdivision will include what's required as a sketch plat, and that has to get formal approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. So when those two are combined together, you have 12 months to get that to go to your next step. And you start with a sketch plat. Let me back up, and then you get that approved from P&Z and City Council. You have a certain amount of time to get to the next step, which is the preliminary plat. And that's when you're providing to us your site plan, your engineered drawings. Once that is approved, then you have 12 months to go to your next step. And that's a final plat. So in other words, you have to have a final recorded plat showing the new lots that people can sell now within that time frame. If you do not get that done within that time frame, that preliminary plat expires. Now, there are some extensions that are allowed, but those extension requests have to be submitted to us prior to the expiration of that preliminary plat or that site plan. And if you do not provide to us that written request for an extension before that time frame, your preliminary plat or site plan expire. And so we've had cases like that very rarely, though. We did have one recently If you are able to get us to that request prior to that expiration time frame, then you can ask for extensions may be granted administratively up to 2 years or by council for an additional 2 years. And then the code further says that the code states that no extensions from the administrator and council will be granted beyond a total of 4 years. So we did look at what the county has, and I didn't include excerpts of that into your agenda, but I certainly can provide that information to you. But basically, the county says that site plans expire 3 years from approval date. Construction permits are valid for 36 months from the date of approval, final engineering plans, and preliminary plat. And then a final plat must be recorded prior to 36-month expiration date of the final engineering and preliminary plat approval. So what that means is you've got 3 years basically to get everything done. I couldn't find anything in there about extensions. But obviously, it's kind of, I believe they do the same thing we do, where if you have a building permit, you have your site plan approved, and you have a certain amount of time to get your building permits or your other construction permits in hand and started. As long as you're continuing to work, the last permit that has an expiration is what you work with. So we do have one particular case that did not adhere to this and submitted to us a request to extend their permit, specifically a preliminary plat, and we received that written request after that 12-month period. And so we have told them that that their preliminary plat was expired, and they will have to go through the process again. So depending on what the code says, they may have to go through and provide brand new, bring everything up to code, or they may not have to. It might be an easy process otherwise. But that's how we apply our current code. I'll try and answer any questions.
So.
Hold on a second. We'll go this way first. Vice Mayor.
So I appreciate the explanation. The big challenge you have, and I think a lot of the ordinances we have in place was based on us not doing much in Titusville. Things are certainly changing for sure. Some of the other permits that a developer is getting, he has more than a year to get things done. But with the site development plan, is only 1 year. The challenge that this particular person had was, I guess it was like 5 days after or something like that. And once it expires, then you got to start, basically pay all the fees and start all over again, make sure your drawings and everything are up to date and all of that. And my suggestion is, I think the county or the state, I can't remember which one it was a 3-year permit, if I remember right, correct?
Right, the county looks like they have a right off the back a 3-year permit.
And that's my suggestion, that we have a 3-year plan. We want them to develop their area, but there's always things that come about that you can't do it. And 1 year really is too short. Just going through the process is it'll take up some of that time for sure. So my suggestion, I was trying to get us out of micromanaging so much. They get the permit, give them reasonable time to get this thing done, and then if the only suggestion I have, if they can't do it, if you see reasonable work being done in those 3 years, then have an option to have an extension on there, but not just say 1 year and then you got to start all over again. That was my challenge that I had.
I remember that. I remember the concern. Member Robinson.
Yes, my concern, in my 2 years that I've sat here, and I don't say a whole lot, we are, we have a responsibility to the citizens, not necessarily to the developers coming in. And a lot of these things have been put in place for reasons that we may or may not understand. And also to continue to put the burden and the responsibility on staff to do certain things when we are elected officials to speak for the people and try to have a better view than the staff has, but take all the information that the staff gives us. But we cannot continue to just, okay, let's give that responsibility to staff. I learned years ago in my 25 years of in the military as an officer, you can you can delegate a task, but the responsibility still always lay here. And that's important to me as an elected official. We need to, and if we continue to shift things around to meet certain things, yes, if you know something going in, that this is your requirement, and you don't meet it, that's just one of the pitfalls of not paying attention. I tell, and this is the first time, and hopefully the last time, as a member of the clergy, I try to tell people that you got time now, but one day that time is going to run out, and I don't think you're going to get an extension without the certain qualifications. And that's my concern. We just got to stop. Just every time something happens, someone failed, we go back and change the rules again.
Good point.
That's my thoughts. Just my thoughts as an elected official, because the people that put those rules in place and they give us, say, you look at my rules that are in place, and if they're serving the purpose, let's keep them in place. If they're not, then we look at them and see what we can do about changing them. But just because you didn't follow the guidelines is not, I don't think, enough reason to change the rules. My thoughts.
Member Stokely.
Yes, thank you. My thoughts are kind of along the lines of Member Robinson's. With my questions I have which is, Brad, from what you witnessed, I guess, is it a habit that people are running out of time and they're needing extensions, or they are expiring, or was it just this one instance? Or do you foresee this being an issue that we should, you guys deal with the developers and applicants, and, we don't see that part, but I think to Member Robinson's point, I do think there does need to be some oversight. I don't think we should just say, do whatever, and what are we doing then up here? Be my concern. So I don't know if you can speak to that.
This doesn't happen that often.
Okay.
Because when you spend that kind of time and money getting a site plan approved, you're going to stay on top of it. But it does happen. So there is that time frame right now in our code, 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
You want an extension, ask for it right before the expiration. That's how we apply it. And the code says you can do it all the way up to 4 years. But there's different abilities or opportunities to ask for those extensions.
So this person just didn't ask for the extension in time is what happened? Okay. So, yeah, that makes me think that we do have the process in place already to account for this. So that's my stance.
Member Nelson.
So when somebody runs out of time, do they get an email saying, hey, you guys have messed this up, you're out of time?
So, I don't want to say that we have a monitoring system and send someone a reminder that there's an expiration. We send them a letter when there's an approved site plan. They get a letter with the date, here's approved, here's what the code says about expiration. Okay. So they have that. As far as, within a month before expiration, do we send them a reminder about this? We don't do that.
Okay. Yeah. I tend to agree with Member Robinson. One person screwed up, so I'm not real crazy about changing everything because this one person had a problem. That's sort of the way I look at it.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I hear what you all are saying. My big challenge is the timelines that we have in place. It may just have been this person this time, but I'm actually doing exactly what you all are talking about. I'm trying to get the pressures off of our planning department by having a mechanism in place where they don't have to review. If I'm a developer and I have to go back after a year, that's work put back on the planning department to get that process again. I'm saying just like all the other applications they have, they got 3 years, like the county does. Give them 3 years to get the site development done, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So this is all about what we've been doing in the past. This ordinance has been around for a long time. I'm assuming, and nothing has enhanced it or changed on it. But my focus has always been, let's make sure, because we are shorthanded in planning department, let's make sure we've got procedures in place where the developer can be successful, but our planning department can be successful by not having to process things so often, if you will. And that's my whole focus. It was brought to mind because of this developer, but my whole focus has always been anything that we can do with ordinances that will allow the planning department not to have to go and see something again after 1 year. I'm saying give them 3 years, because as Brad is saying, after a year or 5 days before the year is up, they're going to have to ask for an extension. And then they have to ask for an extension again. Just give them the first 3 years, and then you don't have that workload being put on the planning and zoning, planning department. That's where I am.
Member Stokel.
Yes, just to follow up with that then, Brad, do you know how many extensions were filed that had expired after a year? Is that a common occurrence where people are coming in for extensions then? Because and now I can see that point, if that's what your concern is, staff time.
We have, yeah, I would say a handful. We've
Okay.
had requests for extensions for
Okay.
site plans in the past year, I would say.
And what does that process normally entail?
A letter or an email, something written, a written request from the applicant stating that
Okay.
they'd like an extension per section of the code. We just review it to make sure they're still in good standing according to code. And then it's granted.
Have there been any instances where you guys have felt like it wasn't granted, like something shouldn't have been granted, where you've had to deny that extension?
The only example I can give you that's recent is this one, where there was an applicant that asked for an extension after the expiration date.
deadline.
So it
Okay.
was a pretty easy
Okay.
statement or response we can give them. To Mr. Jordan's comment about administrative time in doing these reviews, we will have to review that one particular case again. And so it's another site plan review for the same project, which, and I believe what we said to that applicant was that the only thing that's changed since the last time the site plan was approved was the canopy ordinance. And it might be able to meet it, but it's still a review. And so we have to review everything, all the engineering, all that together. And it may be just the same submittal, but maybe with minor change for canopy, but it's still staff time.
Okay. And so this may not be a fair question, but if we were to extend it to help alleviate staff time, because it may sound like you guys are really just having to go through extending it, there don't seem to be really many issues. In your opinion of what you've seen for the completion time, would 2 years be enough? Do you feel like more comfortable with 3 years? Because I do still want to maintain some oversight. I don't want to just be like, here you go, 10 years, do whatever kind of thing. But I don't want to at the same time be like, okay, well, let's try 2 years, and it's still the same thing. They're not.
So if you look at section 34, 172 of the packet, or of this, that's page 722 of your packet, you'll see the section that I've given you there. So it allows an administrative extension with a request up to 2 years, but doesn't really provide to us much guidance as to how to determine what if that extension should be approved or denied. So I would recommend that if we are going to continue that language and ask staff to make a determination as to whether someone's qualified to have an extension, maybe add some criteria. Otherwise, to go ahead and give them right off the bat and a longer expiration date, whether that's 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Okay.
One other thing, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you're there.
One of the other challenges we have, when you give somebody a deadline and they don't make it, this happened to be 5 days or whatever, and that is costing a re-application for the total thing. If he had been 5 days before, he wouldn't have had to do anything except write a letter and say, reapply. So I'm really looking for staff to be able to have more options than just black and white, and say if they're within 5 or 10 days after the application deadline, then staff will still have the option of doing something without having to go through the whole process again.
Grace period.
Yeah, grace period. That's what I'm looking for, because right now, they have no grace period and just causes a lot more money and a lot more time to do it. And on this instance, he's absolutely right. The canopy is the only thing that changed, but it requires all the documentation, everything to be submitted in order to get approval from our department again.
You could turn around. I'm sorry.
No. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm listening to you too. Real quick, Brad, what do I don't like to put you on the spot like this, but I kind of do, because as Member Stokoe said, you're kind of the one that deals with this. We don't. Is there a need for a change? And would this change be worthy of a change?
Honestly, I think it'd probably be worthwhile maybe extending it to 2 years, just having an approval that's right off the back 2 years for site plans. Or maybe we need to clarify for specifically only subdivisions. Is that what you're concerned about? Because those are usually the harder projects.
And truly, I don't know, because since he was speaking of it, but I don't think it's really what I'm listening to you, and that's why I'm coming to you, and it's kind of my MO in life, is go to the person who's making those decisions. Go to the person who's pushing that paper. I need to know if that's going to benefit you, because when I first heard what Vice Mayor said, I thought it sounds pretty good. If it streamlines it and keeps you from playing, volleyball back and forth, let's do it. But is that what's happening? And would this be a benefit?
I think so. It would, when we get these requests, it does take time to review them. And so it does take off some of that administrative burden.
And that settles it for where I'm at. Member Nelson?
So would 2 years be an appropriate time period? Because you have written in here that they can ask for extensions.
So the code says the administrator may grant an extension up to 2 years, provided the administrator has been shown good cause for the extension.
Right.
So it says up to 2 years. I don't know what that means, other than say, well, are we right off the back required to grant them the extra 2 years, or maybe only half? And what's that based on?
So you want to put some criteria in there?
Let's not complicate it.
I'm not quite sure.
Let's not complicate it. I really don't want to start, when we start saying, do we want to put criteria in there? That's a whole other meeting.
Well, that's why I'm asking Brad.
We can revise as to say, just grant the 2 years right off the bat, and then if they do want an extension beyond that, then go to council as it's stated here.
Okay.
And then if we need to, we can, if you would like, we can also maybe include some criteria you can utilize too.
And we don't have to give you criteria right now.
All right.
So I like this plan.
Okay.
All right, Member Stokoe, you done?
Yes.
Okay, Member Nelson's done?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Jordan's done. I'm assuming we're going to take a vote on this. Any cards?
Stan Johnston?
Wake up.
Stan Johnston, and I'm concerned about a site plan, which I believe is well over 10 years that still hasn't been built, and that's the one on the river. I think you know what I'm talking about, Mr. Parrish. It used to be owned by Danny Treader, and it's a high-rise, and I believe it's over 10 years of extensions. So that is over the administrative and so forth, so I thought that you might mention that also. It seems appropriate. What is it? 12, 15 years?
Here, look to us.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is,
that one.
I think I should get an answer, because people have asked me a number of times that I don't have the answer. For example, when I call, city manager, he never returns my call.
Here we go.
Neither does the fire department. So I don't know if Brad Parrish is going to return my calls.
Yeah.
I want you to stop the clock. Why don't you answer my question?
Well, he has that, right? It wasn't when he came prepared. Do you want to answer that?
I believe he's referring to the Rio Lago conditional use permit. We don't have a site plan. We had one when it reviewed, it never was approved, but there is a conditional use permit that has expired on that property.
There you go.
Okay, Danny Treader, in other words, he had a building permit and everything for that thing.
I'm not familiar with a building permit, only a conditional use permit that was extended several times, yes, and then expired.
No, I'm talking about the building. Building was Sid did the engineering on it. So anyhow, it was purchased. The property was purchased. I don't think it's maybe a 10-story building and so forth on the river, and I would think that you would know about it, because it's been before council a number of times.
It's been extended, so
Well, he did
anyhow,
give an answer.
maybe he
as
can
you knew
answer
about
it
it. You
later.
answer something else
because
about
it's not-
that? You don't, okay, because he
No,
did
just
talk
the
about it.
same thing.
All right, we're good. All right, any other cards? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, one other question. When you are dealing with permits from FDOT and DEP and all that, aren't they like 5 or 10 years? Aren't they a long period of time?
I believe they are,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think it's reasonable. You know, the county is 3. I'm good with the compromise of 2 years for sure. And let's just go with that. Be done with it.
So put that in form of a motion?
Right, so just so you know, the motion would be advisability to come back, because this has to be an ordinance, so we'll have to come back with the ordinance.
Okay, so we don't need a motion just to say,
I would, right, based on this agenda item, I'd have a motion of giving them the direction to come back with an ordinance to do what it is.
say that.
So move.
I have a so moved from Vice Mayor, a second.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, second from member, yeah, I got a motion from Vice Mayor, a second from member Nelson, all in favor, no, let's do roll call vote.
Member Robinson?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Diesel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jordan? Hello?
Yes.
Okel?
And that's,
Yes.
yeah, that's only to look into it.
Yes, to look into it. Okay, we have that advisement moved forward. City Manager.
Mayor and council reports, and Mayor, you do have an action item on yours.
Petitions and requests, want to make sure I get that out there. Nobody's available. I'm going to start with the quick mayor's report. Overall, and I went out to look over the hurricane damage, and my days are all mixed up, but it was after the first day. And I was out of Sandpoint Park and ran into Channel 6 and basically said to them that we were blessed. I truly feel that we were blessed with the hurricane results, and I want to thank our chiefs, our city manager, all those in the EOC. I spent a few hours in the EOC, and I was very, very impressed, which I am, with our staff. They were on top of things, answering phone calls, looking computer screens with weather input constantly. Total updates on the amount of rain we got. I showed the Parks and Rec board, and Stan saw it too. He was there. The national news put out the top rain in the state. Titusville was #1 in the state. I think Embry-Riddle was second. A couple of other places, of course, Southwest has some, but Titusville was at 26 inches of rain, according to the national news on Saturday morning. It's on my phone even. I took a picture of it with Titusville. Also, after a tough week, our city jumped right back into life, and with that, I was honored to lead the Astronaut High School Homecoming Parade. And I worked really, really hard to get from Astronaut High School Homecoming Parade to the boards and commissions, and I was pleased for those who stayed for the after party. We did have an after party. I lost Vice Mayor Jordan, and he watched after this meeting. But no, I was very pleased with being able to get there. Sarah and I did our selfie at the park. Remember Robinson? Did I run into you? No? Okay. Well, I ran into the young ladies and got to talk to a lot of people. It was great, but I was really glad I could get to the Astronaut Homecoming Parade, and I'm proud to say that perhaps the parade led them to their first victory of the year. So I was very pleased by that. Basically, just thank you to all the boards and commissions. I did see a lot of people, so most people knew that I got there, but for the most part, it's hard to do both, and I certainly didn't want to back out of my commitment to the Astronaut High School people who asked me to be in that parade. With that, we'll start with
Mayor,
Member
you do
Jordan.
have one miscellaneous item.
I'm sorry?
On your report that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You had requested council authorization for Central Florida's treatment center.
Thank you very much. Member Stokel mentioned that last week, and I appreciated her doing that because I was confused by that, because it wasn't, I visited that center, several months ago, and I talked to them about, actually they talked to me about coming and doing a presentation so that we would be aware that it was there. Because what it is a, and I don't want to, and if you've got more accurate information, feel free to correct me, but it's basically a drug addiction, what's the fentanyl?
Substance abuse.
Substance abuse center. And obviously, unfortunately, every city in our country seems to need one. And when I went there for the tour, I wasn't sure what I was touring. And so that's when I said, and they said, well, it would be good if you came and gave us a 5-minute, understanding of what you do. And so when you said that last week, I wasn't sure what that was because I hadn't talked to them since then. And I don't recall an email or anything saying, hey, we're really ready to do that. So kind of they took that word and ran with it. A little miscommunication perhaps on my part. But with that, yes, I would like to move forward with that. If you could read what it is we're trying to do here.
Yes, sir. We would add that to your next meeting at the special recognition and presentations portion.
I think it would be very good to hear from those
If you all
folks.
want to give them amount of time that they want to present.
I guess someone else needs to make a motion and maybe throw some time in there.
We have a card if we do a motion.
Okay, thank you. Willie Taylor, you got a card? Stan, you got a card on this one?
Is this the one near Chain of Lakes?
No, this is over right behind the hospital, that little area over there with all the doctor's offices.
Okay.
It's
Certainly.
it's off
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, definitely a good idea. Definitely need. Okay, so now do I have a motion stating?
You guys think 15?
I think 15
minutes?
is plenty.
Okay. I move that we allow the Central Florida Treatment Center to give a presentation at our next council meeting during our next presentation
25th of October.
on October 25th for
Second.
15 minutes.
I have a motion from Member Stokel, a second from Member Nelson. Roll call. No, all those in favor say yes?
Yeah.
Opposed? We will have them move forward with that now, Vice Mayor. Member Stokel.
I will be brief. Just want you guys to be thinking about legislative issues. At the Space Coast League of Cities meeting yesterday, they are trying to gather priorities. So we will probably be getting an email to the city shortly asking council for priorities. If you remember in the past, we've done this,
Right.
the lagoon. So be thinking about that. And then reminder, next month we are hosting, I can't believe it's already going to be November next month, hosting again at Dixie Crossroads, November 14th, Monday. So make sure to mark your calendars for that. And then part of my role with the Florida League of Cities is serving, I signed up to serve on the Municipal Administration Policy Committee, and we just recently voted on our top 2 issues to focus on for this next legislative cycle. For my particular policy committee, there are 5 total, so I can't really speak to those. But for mine, we're focusing on short-term rentals because I feel like that still continues to be an issue in our state for communities. As well as, if you recall, I mentioned the financial disclosure that we have to file. They're wanting us to fill out the one that the legislators fill out, which is the Form 6, which is a lot more intrusive. So that's
Should pay us
another.
like legislators will.
What?
I said they should pay us like legislators.
Exactly, or not let us have to abide by sunshine law. Like they want us to follow certain rules with them, but then, I have my own views on that. But so that's one issue. With several concerns, especially I will say with smaller communities where council doesn't get paid that much, and now it's already, I think, difficult to find some people to run for council for some of the communities, and then now adding another barrier. I think there's some concern there. And then I will say another policy, one of the issues, which I think we can all agree on, is the affordable housing issues across the state. So
Always.
I will keep you guys posted as we get more, but just be thinking about that if there's something you think we should focus on locally as a priority for the Space Coast.
Could you please tell us when we should arrive to the Space Coast thing?
Thank you. That was
Because every year I go, we're sitting there
No,
looking through
no.
the window, watching you meet for 45
I am
minutes.
okay, let me clarify. Okay, so the board, which I'm on the board, you guys are not, meets at 5:45. So you do not need to be there for the board meeting at 5:45. They suggest you come at 6:30 for socializing and networking, but the dinner normally will start at 7.
All right, that's what we're
that's
going
a
to do.
big
Because,
difference.
boy, we've been watching you guys through the window for years.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted you guys to see what I was doing, okay?
No, we're not interested.
Yes, because you're on the board and we're not.
That's for sure.
Was that what you were going to say?
That's what I was going to
Okay.
say, yeah. I want to be.
Member Nelson. Member Nelson.
I have to say, take my hats off to Sarah. You know, she's talked to us about stopping smoking in the parks. And we did our first Keep Our Fire Beautiful intercoastal cleanup last month. And
Yeah,
the city has never done it. Dan was
I
there.
was there.
And
Great.
we had,
Got my little picker-upper.
you got your little picker-upper. We had about 50 people. And they picked up 50 bags of trash.
Yeah.
And we sort of split into groups because they were keeping track of what trash we were picking up.
our little group picked up 300 cigarette butts. And 5 socks.
Wow.
Now, I don't know, socks, yeah, 5 socks. But we filled up the dumpster and then some. And so for a first turnout, I thought that was good.
Very good. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, it was.
It was a lot of fun.
So I want to say thank you to all the people, and it's nice to know that maybe we'll have less cigarette butts one of these days.
One of these days. I was going to talk about electrical cars, but you know, we're not. Member Robinson.
Yes, my first question is to Sarah, is that I got the email from the League of Cities about the training conference on the November 30th through the 2nd. But I want to attend that so I can go to a meeting and not sit there and be blank in the face like, you know, I don't like that. So if you could find out some information, because I put my name in and it was, it rejected it. So I don't know what,
he's on the board.
What to do. So, because I didn't have no code or anything, I don't know what it takes. So I would like to find out more about that. Okay, if you could do that for me. Also, I attended last Friday, I think of last Friday, the Metro transportation over in Orlando. And a lot of the Secretary of Transportation was there doing a presentation, and he gave a good update on the roads and the things that, especially down in Southwest Florida, and a lot of damage, a lot of things, as we all know. But they are expeditiously working hard to make things happen. I understand that they put a bridge in, a temporary bridge in a week. That's something that the Navy Seabees do. Build air landing strips and right, city man?
Helicopter pads.
Landing strips in a couple of days. But so it was a lot of information out there. I got a lot of information. It was good. And that's what I was at. I enjoyed the meal last Thursday night. I was just talking to earlier to wonder about it, you know, and grade it. And I didn't get to fellowship with the mayor there because I saw him after that. He was at waving on the back of the truck.
I was on the back of the truck. I didn't help my back either.
And I think he finally came across. I think I saw a picture with you and Sarah in front of the podium. Right?
Yes, sir. I told you I was there. I had to get proof.
Yeah.
I was there, like I said, the after party.
See, that's what I didn't know, but
yeah,
she
you
made me
should have been there
for a photograph, for a Kodak moment. So I was there for a Kodak moment, and it was good. And I think that's all
very cool
that I've been exposed to over the last 2 weeks. And
I'm sure there was much more.
Huh?
I'm sure there was much more, but we can't get them all in.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let me go ahead. Last thing, I was at the St. Mark's. That's where I was the principal for 4 months, and I got invited as the mayor. MRC put on an Indian River Lagoon field trip on campus, and it was really good. It talked about the importance of kids getting involved with the Indian River Lagoon, and did a lot of tests and a lot of water tests. And the cool thing there, too, was that Cocoa and Rockledge had elected officials there as well, and so we got to interact on that and talk a little bit about. Matter of fact, it was amazing to me. Cocoa in particular said they want to start doing as much in Cocoa as we're doing in Titusville. I thought, wow. And how do you know what we're doing up here? But good for them. And last but not least, as I missed the CRA meeting, I do want to say that it was, I was speaking at the naming of the Titusville High School gym, the Coach Dixon Doghouse. And there was every icon in Titusville High School's history, from people you guys aren't familiar with, but Di Barnhart, who you might be, and Speedy Thomas, and former principals. It was just really good. It's that family feel you get when you live in this town. And Laura Dixon is more than deserving to have that gym named after her. It just makes me feel really good. So with that, City Manager.
Yes, sir. And I'd like to thank the police department for participating in National Night Out. And I know council also participated in that. We cooked 1,000 dogs, me and him.
We got a picture.
And
Want to
with
see
one
a
other.
picture? Man was in his tie cooking hot dogs.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that. I like the new location. I think it's a lot better.
Awesome.
And we had participation from all the agencies that we interact with, to include the DEA came up from Miami. So we had a great turnout of law enforcement officers. And I still don't understand why the fire department still wins with that little thing that they have, but it's very popular. The kids were wrapped all around the fire truck with that too. Second is the city did terminate the local state of emergency on 10 October at noon, and hopefully the mayor did sign that tonight. There are still debris removal going on as the Public Works Department is on a normal schedule now, but we will also be called, if you have a big debris pickup, you can certainly call and we'll come out and get it. There are some road damages as a result of the water on the roads and underneath the roads that we are aware of, and we are going to take some more time to get all those repairs made. But as you had stated earlier, I think we were very blessed. We did have flooding in a couple areas of the city, and we know a couple of them that can be addressed if we can get some partner support to help us with those.
Thank you.
Subject to your questions.
City Attorney? Wow, very good. With that, meeting adjourned.